So the first thing that I'm going to be reviewing is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea water foundation, and this is what the packaging looks like. I love it. It's kind of like it kind of reminds you of like a mermaid or something. I don't know. I've been really drawn to this foundation. Like, I keep seeing it on Sephora and everything. Water foundation would, in my mind, suggest that it's hydrating, and that's kind of like, I'm not really into matte foundation since I am dry. So I'm gonna go on Sephora and read what the foundation claims, kind of like a Jeffree Star type review. Okay, so on Sephora it says a lightweight, full coverage, hydrating foundation infused with Tarte's Rainforest of the Sea complex and non-chemical SPF 15 sunscreen. So that, to me, like, when I hear hydrating and full coverage, I'm like, come on, like, I feel like you can't really have both in a foundation. Because just like more hydrating, dewy foundations just don't tend to be as full coverage. So that's like what really drew me to the foundation. And then it says what it's formulated to do. Super hydrating vegan foundation with non-chemical SPF 15. Leaves skin glowy and flawless for up to 12 hours. Hides fine lines, breakouts, pores, dark circles, and more with buildable coverage. Formulated with 20% water and antioxidant-rich algae to smooth the look of fine lines. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to prime my skin with the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. I just really love this primer. I think I've gone through 2 bottles of this. It's just my favorite primer for underneath a foundation. And I normally, like, when I know I love a foundation, that's when I can use this primer with no other primer, like no other smoothing primer or anything like that. And that's also why I'm not using a smoothing primer, because this foundation claims to smooth out fine lines and everything. So I don't want the primer, like, I don't want to think that it's the foundation when it's really the primer. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and like just apply it like I normally would. I am gonna drop it on my skin. I don't like doing the whole like back of the hand thing. I feel like it wastes product. So I'm gonna do like what I would normally do, like with the NYX dropper foundation. And obviously, like, if you're gonna be, if you're a makeup artist and you're like using this on clients, like, you wouldn't want to touch their skin with, the applicator, but I'm not using this on anybody, so. Okay, so I just like dotted what I normally would. I don't overuse foundation. Like, I know some people like dot it everywhere. Like, I don't do that. I start off small, and then you can always build up the coverage, but it's harder to take it away. So I'm just gonna start buffing it out. I'm using my normal foundation brush. This is that Morphe M439. This is what I've been using for like probably a year and a half. This color matches me like really well. I really like, do you see that luminosity? Okay, so right off the bat, I love like the luminosity that you get with this foundation. I feel like not many foundations that I've tried recently have like that luminosity. I will say though, now on the website it does say buildable, so that's good. It's not like, I wouldn't apply one layer of this and be like, wow, this is like so full coverage. As you can see, I still have a little bit of redness like right here. This is where my redness is the most. A little bit on my nose, and like I had a little blemish right here, and it didn't completely cover it all the way. You can see right there that it didn't. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little bit more. Now, I will say that I normally don't like go in and like put more foundation on. I normally just do one layer. So just with that one layer, I don't think it's, I mean, it has good coverage. It's not like sheer coverage, but it's not as full coverage as I would like it to be, like for a foundation that's claiming to be, a hydrating lightweight, or no, a hydrating full coverage foundation. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more to like my red areas. I'm normally really red. And like this area, that's like where I get the most redness, is like here and here. It's so weird. And then So yeah, I'm just gonna go back over those as well. But I do really like the color of this foundation. I feel like it doesn't really oxidize. Like what's in the bottle is pretty true to what, you know, the color that you're gonna get. Like I feel like I didn't really get much more coverage. Let's see. Okay, so I got a tiny bit more coverage with adding just, you know, a little bit more. I will say that I love the finish of this foundation. Like, I really do. I feel like I haven't gotten a foundation recently that I've, like, really loved the finish. So I do like the finish. I will say, though, like, adding a second layer, like that blemish right there, it's a little bit more covered, but it's definitely not at all full coverage, like I thought it was going to be. This is a little bit more full coverage than I normally wear, like, you know, my foundations, but I was kind of expecting a little bit more. Like, as you can see, and it's normal for foundations not to cover my redness, but as you can see, like right here, you can still see my redness peeking through. I'm going to put a tiny bit more just to see, and I'm actually going to use my beauty blender as well in that area, because I know I don't like using a beauty blender with my foundations, but sometimes a beauty blender can, you know, make it a little bit more, in my opinion, full coverage than a brush. I do think too that this foundation did a good job of like blurring out the pores and the lines and stuff, because I feel like my, you know, my forehead line, it's definitely not as bad as it normally would be, like without setting, you know, this part. Okay. Wow. That did actually cover. I'm gonna see about this little blemish right here. Yeah, that actually, with the beauty blender, I really like the coverage of that. Like, you can see, like, there's almost no redness in my skin. There's still this little thing right here still didn't cover all the way, but that's fine. I normally do concealer anyway, but I will say that after, you know, using my beauty blender and over my redness, I really do like the coverage. And I'll zoom you in so you can see, like, I mean, you can see a little bit of the forehead line, but I feel like that foundation did a really good job of covering it. And then these, like, smile lines and stuff, I feel like you can't see at all. And, like, my skin looks, like, smooth. So, yeah, I really like the coverage of that. Yeah, so I think overall, my thoughts, I really like this foundation. I would give it an A-, because the coverage wasn't what I was expecting, but with the beauty blender, it really is pretty. And, you know, it smooths out the lines, it covers up the pores, it does everything that it claimed to do. So yeah, I really like this foundation. So that was my finished first impressions. I love the foundation, and I never really saw any reviews for the Tarte foundation either. So those are just my honest reviews. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.